In this segment of 20th Hour, we're going to focus on whether immigration is another means by which Muslims are being misrepresented or stereotyped. All too often, the fear-mongering, the genuine fear-mongering as well, many would say, about immigrants coming to this country is inevitably something, again, which Muslims seem to take the brunt of the blame for. When in reality, actually, the latest wave of immigration was done on the basis of large transnational corporations wanting cheap labour from Eastern Europe to come into this country based on the EU rules and regulations. Well, all that's being reversed with Brexit, as we know. But Muslims, again, have been roped in as the persona non gratis, the bête noire, as the immigrant that's been unwanted. The war in Libya, which unleashed again by the British and NATO forces and the Western forces, actually opened the floodgates. The Gaddafi destruction, the destruction of Gaddafi's government has probably been the single biggest element in immigration from the Muslim world. But again, something caused by the greed, arguably, of our own countries in terms of interfering with other foreign nations. Join us after this short video.
The civilization born of Judeo-Christian values, ancient Greek philosophy, and the discoveries of the Enlightenment is staring at the abyss brought there by its own hand. To put it starkly, Europe is committing suicide. How did this happen? It's a complicated story, but there are two major causes. The first is the mass movement of peoples into Europe. This has been going on steadily since the end of World War II, but sped up massively in the migration crisis of 2015, when more than 1 million migrants poured into Europe from the Middle East, North Africa, and East Asia. The second, and equally significant, is that Europe lost faith in itself, its beliefs, its traditions, and even its very legitimacy. Let's take a closer look at both causes. For decades, Europe encouraged people, mostly from the Middle East and North Africa, to come as temporary workers. Nobody expected them to stay, yet they did. And nobody asked them to leave, even those who came illegally. As one British immigration minister put it in 1999, removal takes too long and it's emotional. And, of course, why would they leave? The economic opportunities were far greater in Europe than from where they came, and if the work dried up, there were generous welfare benefits to be had. For a time, immigrants were allowed, even encouraged, thanks to the European commitment to multiculturalism, to pursue whatever culture they wanted. But that didn't work out well. The leaders of Britain, France, and Germany admitted as much in 2011 when David Cameron, Nicolas Sarkozy, and Angela Merkel dramatically announced that multiculturalism had failed. So, the immigrants were then asked to assimilate and embrace Western values. If that happened, European governments reasoned, all the financial costs, even the occasional acts of terrorism, could be overlooked. But it never happened, and immigration just increased. During 2015, Germany and Sweden added 2% to their populations in a single year. By 2017, the most popular boy's name in the United Kingdom was Mohammed.
So for Douglas Murray, the name Mohammed being the most popular is a real problem, and he's whipping up, along with other neoconservatives, Donald Trump himself, various others, are whipping up this kind of right-wing nationalism, which is reminiscent of pre-war Nazi Germany. It's like that rhetoric of the other is coming. Real problem here, because many people are listening to Douglas Murray and his ilk. Not only politically are they on the rise, but at the grassroots level, they're being, if you like, increasingly taken seriously, and their numbers are growing. So again, Muslims have to be a little bit worried about this as another means of attacking them alongside other immigrants, no doubt. But join us after, this short video should give us the counter-argument to what Douglas Murray's, if you like, rumour-mongering and exaggerations are really all about.
The problem that we're facing is that migrants around the world are being excluded. They're being excluded from enjoying their rights, they're being excluded from services, they're being excluded from our societies, and this needs to change.
Microsoft, it is super important for us to be able to attract talents and the best talents from wherever they are in the world.
I think the challenge we're facing is we're in a society where we're producing a lot of information, but this information is leading to a lot of confusion, and it's not leading us to a lot of discussion, actually.
My community, with its Jewish history, we were migrants a generation or two ago, is deeply involved. Our role is to help each other and inspire each other to reach out, get to know and befriend.
As a priest, I'm working with an imam. We started this interfaith program together for Sweden so that young people with different religious background, Jewish, Muslim, Christian, Hindu background can meet and share each other's stories.
So Ben & Jerry's wants to use its reach, its engagement with our fans to really speak out about this issue and drive action at the local level, and also get our fans to unite behind the message.
But until we put out that aggressive fire that's at the moment is really guiding so many national conversations, we won't be able to tell the progressive story that so many of us feel is the right way forward.
Hate is a business model. Businesses should avoid funding and fueling media xenophobia.
My call to action would be to encourage people to step outside their comfort zone and to speak to people they don't necessarily speak to and read publications online that they don't necessarily look at.
Il devrait appliquer ce que disait Aristote, connais-toi toi-même.
The call to action, I think, is for us to start listening to each other.
My call to action is to listen to other people who don't already agree with you, and to take the time to understand where other people are coming from, and to not base your perceptions on assumptions, but to challenge those.
Call to action would be to create in your community, in your space, in the schools, with your family, your friends and relatives, spaces for discussion where you really debate about, what is migration, how is it affecting your life, and how would you like your community to work about it?
Our call to action is to stand up for migrants' human rights today.
Well, my call to action would be to ask the Western governments to stop committing economic terrorism on particularly Muslim countries and other poverty-stricken countries, and also to stop, if you like, committing military terrorism on them. The Muslim world is in tatters because we're supplying weapons from here in the West, and we are looking to acquire everything we possibly can in our greed, and our morality becomes completely sidelined. So let's not take foreign policy off the agenda as our establishment would conveniently like to, because the bulk of our problems, it seems, all go back to the actions we're committing in those countries. Why would you have immigrants coming from foreign countries if they were doing well in their own countries? The environmental disasters are going to make this even worse. The rise in global warming, climate change, this is only going to exacerbate the question of immigration. We need to be really serious about understanding that we shouldn't make it worse with our own conflict-ridden agendas from the structural elites that exist within our societies. Join us after this short break when we'll tackle another issue which deals with why Muslims feel they're under attack in the West.